This is a book review of One Dark Night, which is a kind of nonfiction compilation by Troy Taylor, who writes a lot of books for this sort of independent publisher called American Hauntings, Inc., which I've directly bought some books from just because he has interesting titles. He goes into a lot of paranormal stuff and different things, particularly historical things that he finds interesting paranormal. He talks here about some really strange incidents. Some of them I knew a little bit about, and some other ones, a lot of detail about, like things that they had. Okay, I'd known about Spring Heel Jack and some of the stuff like that, which was basically this guy that would like pop out of nowhere and attack women and then disappear. Well, apparently the United States also had one that was causing a lot of issues in several cities. They were calling them black ghosts that were like jumping out of different places. They were attacking people. They would like look very weird. It was a very strange thing. It was almost involves like the clown phenomena we had, which he also covers in here, that we had more recently, where it was you couldn't quite tell if it was people making this a thing or if it was kind of mass hysteria. But a lot of these women were getting stabbed and were like literally having wounds. This guy never killed anyone, but it does seem like there was some weird thing going on. This was maybe somebody who was not quite a serial killer. They didn't really get to that point, but they were definitely attacking women and doing it in a very specific way that seemed to almost be like how a serial killer does a specific style of killing, only this didn't get to that point. It's very weird. It's very weird. It was like a cross between a serial killer and a flasher. It was a very strange thing that was happening. He also goes into talking about the vampire panic or vampire sort of situation that we had during the turn of the century. And he talks about some of those cases like Mercy Brown and different things, which I was aware of. He goes into the clowns. He goes into the idea of this thing he calls sinister strangers, which is like the bunny man and the stuff that we hear kind of urban legends about and different things. But he does very good books. I've read several of Troy Taylor's. I'm always very impressed that he really does his research for an independent publisher who is maybe in a really niche area. I always expect it to be like the stories about ghost stories and whatever, but he does a lot of historical research on his stories and has lots of primary sources, lots of pictures and different things that he has in it, that he's very thoughtfully laid these books out, and he has a lot of them. I would recommend Troy Taylor if you like paranormal stuff, just because they're always really big, dense books that are very, very thoroughly researched and very kind, almost a scholarly way of doing paranormal stuff. It's really interesting. It's also interesting to see these really kind of obscure paranormal things that he goes into looking about, because they are kind of odd areas as well, but it also sort of goes along with the thinkings of the different time periods he's talking about. So yeah, it's just, I feel like I'm not saying much about it, and that is because he jumps from thing to thing to thing. So it is a compilation of a lot of different paranormal stuff and oddities and different things he doesn't even really necessarily have a category for, but it is very good. He also has a lot of books that are dealing with specific hauntings and things like that, but he kind of hits the borderline of true crime and paranormal, which is very interesting, and does a very, very good job, which is a little bit surprising in an area where you get a lot of people just trying to cash in and write a ghost storybook or whatever else. I'm a little bit particular about that because I don't like the straight up books that are just like, well, here's kind of a first-hand account of a ghost that doesn't really talk about it in a sort of circumspect way. So I don't know if I've generally all the ones that I have bought have been straight off of that American Hauntings Inc. website. I would suggest that one. It has a lot of really interesting books in there. So this is one that I finished. Didn't really fit necessarily in any genre of anything, but is a good book.